Okay, so the first step is we're gonna jack up the car and put it on jack stand. Okay, so the next step is to take off the wheel. First we're going to take off the hubcap and then we'll take off the wheel. So I'm using a half-inch 19mm socket with a impact wrench. Okay, so now after that we're going to use a T30 Torx bit to take off the little bolt holding on the drum. Okay, and now your drum should just come off. Okay, now we're just gonna spray some PB blaster on the bolts that we're gonna be taking off. So there's 2 on this side, and then 2 more on the other side. Okay, so to get to the bearing, there's 4 bolts on the back side. They're 15mm each. So we're going to go ahead and take those off. Okay, now I'm just going to use a cordless ratchet to take off the bolts quicker. Okay, so here you won't have any space to actually take off the whole bolt, so I'm going to switch to a shorter 15mm socket. The rear shock absorber gets in the way, so just be careful of that. Okay, so now there's nothing else holding the drum assembly, so I just put 2 jack stands to hold it on. Okay, so to make this easier, we're gonna have to take off the brake line. I'm using a 13mm flare nut wrench to take off the brake line. Okay, so now I'm going to use a E10 socket to take off the bracket. The bracket holds the ABS wire and as well as the brake line, so we're going to have to remove that. Okay, and the last step is to take off the ABS sensor. I'm using a T27 Torx. Okay, so they get pretty stuck on there, so I'm going to use a small pry bar to pop out the sensor. Okay, so now your rear drum and wheel bearing assembly should be free. So the setup I'm doing right now is I'm just putting it face down and putting it, resting it against two jack stands. Okay, so I had to do this off camera. So this was the initial setup, the drum facing down and two jack stands holding it. And through the holes that the bolts go through, I use a long 1/4 inch extension with a sledgehammer, and I just hammered it to get the bearing off. Yeah, and as you hammer it, the shoes actually came off, so I'm gonna have to put those back after. And there's your bearing. Okay, so we're gonna be replacing it with a AC Delco bearing, and the part number is there if you need it. Okay, so after that, we're just gonna clean up the surface that we're gonna put the new bearing on. I'm just using a wire brush with a drill. Okay, and after that, you just spray it with some brake cleaner. And then, if you want, you could put some anti-seize. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, so now here's the challenging part. We're gonna have to hold the whole drum assembly while lining up the bolts with the new bearing. Yeah, so here I'm taking a bit more time because I'm trying to line up the bolts and holding the drums at the same time. Okay, so when you're done, it should look like this. Tighten the 4 bolts in the back. Yeah, so the shoes fell out, so I'm going to have to put those back. And from the back, so you put back the ABS sensor, put the brake line back on, and then tighten the bracket that holds both of them. And then when you're done, it should look like this. Your bearing should spin freely. And if your drum set came off, then just put it back with all the springs and the handbrakes. Now put the drum back on and tighten it with the T30 bolt. And now we're going to put the wheel back on and torque it to 80 foot-pounds. And there you have it, you're done now.